All right, so I just posted in the chat there, guys, your Nearpod link to get to. So if you'd follow along there, that'd be a good way to just kind of go through everything. So today, as some of you guys have been talking about in the chat, we're going to be talking about juvenile justice, okay? And I'll try to get to some of your questions when I can, once I get there. But let's kind of go through this, and then I'll get to everything as I can. All right, so welcome, guys. This is like our fifth week or fifth lesson here. If you go into your course here, as you see lesson 4, I have a recording there. Fortunately, I had something I had to get to, so I made a recording. If you go to the class plan, which is right here, and you jump over here, you can see what we have left. So today is the 24th. We have live class here, and then we have what we're going to be assigned today, which is talking about a stick-up kid assignment. This is kind of interesting as we're talking about juvenile justice. A case study is really good to kind of look at and kind of see there. Then we'll have another live class next week, and then after that we'll have our Unit 6 thing, and then really you have a little bit of time to get kind of your grades up. The end of the block 3 is the 18th of March, so know that's coming fast. So anything that you've kind of missed, make sure you kind of get that that caught up there. Right now I'm not on the Nearpod. You may have to kind of get in, go through that link if it's not letting you in. There's six units. So right now we're on Unit 5. So what you're going to be doing today for your assignment, you're going to go to right here, the assignment. We just have these questions to answer, and there's this video that you need to watch on pbs.org called Stick Up Kid. It's about a kid that was underage and kind of what his experience was as he went through the criminal justice system. Okay, so that's kind of what we have here. Okay, just a couple things. One, this lesson is going to be recorded for those that couldn't make it. Classroom expectations, one of the things, just make sure that your chats are appropriate, and you're trying to follow along, kind of paying attention, that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's start with it real quick. So right now, I'm assuming most of you guys are underage, meaning you're under the age of 18, and so you'd be classified as a minor, okay? So if you were to do something, you could be classified as a minor. There are some situations, which you'll learn up in the video, the stick-up kid, that you can be tried as an adult, okay? So make sure that you're doing good. But the juvenile justice system is designed to deal with the problems of delinquent acts committed by a person under the age of 18. I don't know if any of you guys went toilet papering and stuff when you were younger. I don't know. It seems like you can get in a lot more trouble these days, so I wouldn't. But this was something that we used to do all the time, right? But that could be considered a delinquent act. I had some friends that actually got put on the Ogden gang watch list for some delinquent acts that they did. So really, you need to be careful as you are doing it. And they actually had before going different places, an application they had to submit. They actually had to submit like a letter of why they were actually on it. So kind of an interesting case there. It just makes you proud. So there's delinquent acts, okay? There's 2 types of delinquent acts. There's a criminal and status. Okay, I guess that's somebody that's doing a delinquent act right there, maybe breaking into a house. Okay, so let's talk about the criminal one. It's an act, if committed by an adult, would be a criminal offense. Okay, crimes from murder to vandalism. Okay, so that would be considered a criminal offense, any of those. Okay, a status one is an act which prohibits for a minor, but not of those of a certain age. So for example, curfew laws. You guys are still under some, a lot of times, some curfew laws. Possession and drinking, consuming of alcohol, tobacco, running away, and then also ungovernable and truancy. Okay, so one of the things you probably don't know is you need to be enrolled in the school until you are of a certain age of 18, right? And then you can kind of decide if you're underage, then truancy is an issue there. Okay, age of accountability. Okay, as far back as the Roman Justinian's Code, okay, it has been held that children below a certain age are not able to distinguish between right and wrong, okay, and thus are not responsible for crimes they may have committed. The Romans held that the age of the reach of 8 or 9 should be responsible and would be held as an adult. We've learned with research and stuff like that that your brain does not mature and your critical thinking skills are maybe not the best when you are younger. And so a lot of it under 18, if you do some stuff, it does, depending on the act, of course, right? It's gone there. Yeah, 8 years is what the Romans said. They felt that after that, you were able to know right from wrong and be able to live some type of code. So this code that we're talking about in the 1700s in countries such as England, juveniles could be executed for stealing food. Okay, over 170 offenses were punishable by death. Other punishments include whipping, branding, and mutilation. Okay, as we're coming back in the 1980s, social reform was able to gain support for a new philosophy, what we call corrective justice. Okay, and this is something that we'll be talking about a little bit more about trying to rehabilitate people rather than punishing them. Okay, trying to get them to act with social norms and stuff, which rejects severe punishment for juveniles. The acts of juveniles were viewed as delinquent rather than criminal. Punishment was replaced with rehabilitation. There is a separate court for juveniles, which was created. The first court was created in Cook County, Illinois in 1899. By 1910, 20 states had separate set of juvenile laws. And in 1945, all states had incorporated a juvenile justice system. Okay, the Old English philosophy of parents for the states is what that's called, was adopted by the juvenile court system in order to justify court involvement in non-criminal matters. In the United States, the juvenile court works under the philosophy of in the place of parents to protect juvenile. Under this premise, juveniles do not have their rights taken away, but rather the court is acting as a parent to correct unacceptable behavior of a child. Okay, so that's something that if parents aren't going to kind of do their job, the state has kind of looked at taking it into their hands to correct these child behaviors. So we're going to watch this little video real quick. You can watch it either yourself or I'll play it here as well. This is about a little bit about the juvenile justice system and just kind of some thoughts, okay? So listen to this. It's only about 3 minutes long. All right. Let's have a little discussion on this real quick. So the guy in there, Mr. McDaniels, he talks about something called the revolving door. Um, what is that? The revolving door. Okay, so somebody said the system, the criminal justice system. Okay, the system. Okay, so have you guys ever went in revolving doors where it kind of goes around and you're like in this glass thing and you have to walk around? I don't see it much anymore, but it looks like a lot of you have gone through those. Oh yeah, somebody put in a revolving door. Fantastic. So now we kind of see what it is. Um, yeah, once you get in the system, it's hard to get out. Okay, is what they're saying. Um, so most the people that are in the system or incarcerated now have had something happen in their past, right? And they're not looking like they're getting very good rehabilitation to get them out. I mean, we get on to different things, and we could talk anywhere from drugs to petty theft to all that kind of stuff, right? And it really starts at this young position. If you have these kids that are acting out, what do you do? Okay, and that kind of stuff. Let me read some of these things. When they commit a crime, they go to jail, and they get out of jail, and they commit another crime. They go back in. Yeah, and just over and over and over again. That's not a system that works, right? You know, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Okay. Um, it takes time and timing to get out. Yeah. But a lot of times they're not, they're in there and all they think they do is serving a punishment, right? So teaching bad kids in juvie to be better so that they won't, yeah. So that's what we need to do. But how do you do that, right? Um, for example, if you're in a situation where the only way to make money is to sell drugs, let's talk about that for a second, okay? The only way to make money that you know how to, your parents have known how to, is sell drugs, and you sell drugs, and then you get in the system, and you come out, and you don't have any food again. The only way you can make money is sell drugs, and you go in again, right? You kind of see that process, okay? Yeah, real rehabilitation over punishment. And this is really what we're trying to do, right? I've worked in some aspects of the school system that has dealt with the juvenile justice system, and we have those that have probation officers or even in lockup and that kind of stuff. I've I've seen them kind of come in, right? And a lot of them, what they kind of talked about is they all have possibly some type of trauma, traumatic events that they've kind of went through. Yeah, somebody said the prison system kind of stuff. Yeah, and how do we do that, right? I think preventing them from going back in and getting them to learn that kind of stuff, but it kind of goes back to behavior, right? They got to learn to do it as well. So it's just hard. It's hard to know how to do it and how to get this done. Okay, let's talk a little bit more as we're moving on here. Yeah, and addiction. Yep, once you go, it's hard to stop, right? And that's what they talk in mental health professionals coming in. All those kind of things are really needed to help out. Okay, so we talked about the rights of kind of the parents. So the judges act as the role of parent. Therefore, juveniles will not be viewed of needing constitutional rights, since the judge will provide those safeguards. Juveniles proceedings were since the civil matters. Due to the increased concerns due to the process in adult court, the system, in the Supreme Court in 1966, the acts have changed the juvenile justice system. Okay. Okay, in 1967, the case changed the philosophy of juvenile justice forever. Juvenile courts no longer could ignore the constitutional rights of juveniles. So, which is great, right? Everybody needs to have those rights if you're not there. The system granted juveniles to appear in court and follow the rights. They get access to a lawyer. They get to equate notice of charges, the privilege against self-incrimination, and then opportunities to confront and cross-examine witnesses, just like if you were an adult. Yeah, somebody said rehab. Yep, very good. In 1970, the case further abandoned the civil nature of juvenile justice. The civil standards of preponderance of the evidence was replaced with the adult court standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, so things in like murder and stuff, you know, how, or any kind of criminal act, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that somebody has done something. Before, juveniles were only under the preponderance of the evidence, right? Meaning the evidence looks good, you know, so they did the crime, right? Now they have to be convicted with beyond a reasonable doubt. Juveniles now have all rights afforded to adults with the notable exception of one, and that's a trial by juries are not allowed, okay? So they're not going to go and have a bunch of adults, because trial by peers, you have to have somebody of your peers. And if you're a juvenile, we're not going to get a whole bunch of other, you know, kids your age to sit on a court and make and determine your what's going to happen to you, right? So I think that's a good thing for you guys. Expungement is the process in which the records can be sealed. Expungement applies to all citizens, including juveniles. And one of the things about expungement is basically it kind of goes off your record, because a lot of times if you do something when you're young and, sorry to say, dumb, a lot of times you getting a job is really hard if you have something on your record, right? And you can kind of get that expunged, okay? And so you can meet things to get that expunged. The jurisdiction, okay, juvenile courts are responsible to criminal violations, status offenses we talked about, child custody issues. Juvenile courts share concurrent justice jurisdiction with other courts concerning traffic violations. Adults who contribute to the abuse, neglect, or delinquency of minors. Okay, so that can all be in that court. I'm trying to look at some of the chat things. Yeah, like it depends on where you live. Like it's all about an outlook of where you guys live, guys. You know, I think we're pretty live in pretty good area in Utah. In some of these inner city places, and maybe you live in an inner city right now, and it's that bad. There's only certain things that you can kind of do, right? And unfortunately, it's just kind of sad. So hopefully you get the opportunity to everybody. Okay. So they basically had commissioners that kind of were over that. I'm going to kind of move along a little bit. Interstate Compact. So basically, if you were to do something in one state, we have all kind of the same rules and that kind. Your thoughts on the Ogden? I live in the Ogden area, and I like it. That's my thoughts on Ogden. Okay, let's talk about serious youth offender law. Okay, this is an act that was established in 1995, created a procedure where we'd automatically transfer juvenile offenders to the adult system. Okay, which if you're somebody that's 17 and go into the adult system, and you'll learn this when you watch your video, your assignment, the stick up kid, and do that. It is a really hard life, right? So there's some serious youth offender act. you have to be at least 16 years of age. And so something like serious would be like murder, okay, or something like that. Juveniles are charged with one of the following acts, okay? So aggravated arson, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, aggravated burglary, aggravated robbery, aggravated sexual assault, discharge firearm from a vehicle, attempted murder, and then also those felony charges that we talk about, which would be like murder and that kind of stuff. So that serious one, that's still there, that you could be put into the adult system. So certification, this is another method of transferring juvenile to the adult court. It's the process must petition the court. A hearing will place the judge on decision made, okay? So that's something, if it's so severe that they think you should be tried as an adult. One of the things that's really good that's trying to work out the kinks in the system is called the Division of Youth Services. Youth Services is a government agency responsible for providing services for runaways, juveniles, homeless, and ungovernable youth, and children who have been abused, abandoned, or neglected. So the way that kind of works, they have the Juvenile Receiving Center. There's a truancy program, prevention program, to prevent these things from happening. They have detention centers, which is a facility. There, somebody said they lived in Ogden. There's some on 12th Street there, that's detention centers. That if you lived in that area, that's kind of bare. A juvenile can be held up to 48-hour period, not to include weekends and holidays, before he or she appears to a juvenile court. So that's what would happen if you did something. Once you get there, you'd be advised of your alleged charges, right to make 2 approved telephone calls, current status with the juvenile court, the date, time, and reason for a detention, probable cause hearing, right to medical services, and orientation with the facility. Oops. Okay, so that is kind of the process there. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Remember what's due is you need to go to this week. Oh crap, it's logging me in. Anyways, it's the Stick Up Kid assignment. You have these questions you need to do. You go to this link, which goes right there. There's a 28-minute video, and it talks about what we were talking about, the juvenile system, and how his experience, that kind of case study worked. So the assignment again is due on Monday, this coming Monday, the 1st, and I'll stick around for a bit if you guys have any questions. If not, you guys can take off.